Today, I want to talk quickly from the topic, my hiding place, my hiding place. And I'm using as the text for today, the 27th Psalm. And I'm just going to quote one verse, but I'd ask that you would read the whole thing, specifically the first through the fourth verse, but I'm just going to quote the fourth verse that says, "One thing I ask of the Lord, and that will I seek after, and that is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in the Lord's temple." I want to talk for a moment from the topic, my hiding place. My hiding place. When the storms of life are raging, it's not easy. When the weight of this world drives me to my knees, I'm sure and I'm secure, and I know that I've found a hiding place in his love. I'm leaning on Jesus. He's the answer, the only answer that I'll ever need. He'll never leave me, forsake, nor deceive me, for I know that I've found a hiding place, and it's in his love. Those words come from a song that was recorded back in the 1980s by the New Jersey Mass Choir. I used to love that song, and it really speaks to being in the shelter of God. You know, we're going through a season. I don't know how it is in Bermuda, but I can say here in the southern part of the United States, at least, we're going through a season where storms come on a regular basis. On the hot days, most hot days, by the afternoon, a storm's rolling through in the afternoon. And in my house, and Billy lives near my neighborhood, so she might have the same experience. But in my house, for some reason, when it storms, it's very likely that the power is going to go out, that we won't have any lights for a while, that we won't have any air conditioning for a little while, or we don't know how bad that storm's going to get because we don't know what's coming. And sometimes I think during those times when those storms come into our lives, wouldn't it be nice to be able to know that we are sheltered? I'm grateful for this house that I have that keeps me sheltered from the storms when they come. Because sometimes the thunder is so loud, it shakes the whole house. And the lightning is so bright. I mean, our dogs just run and they just don't like when the storms happen. They sit closer to us than they sit near us at any other time, except for only when they hear these storms coming. I have Shauna here, but sometimes I wish there was someone I could go up to and say, I need some comforting while I'm trying to go through this storm. We say that about the weather and those storms that come our ways in our life. But wouldn't it be great if we knew we had a shelter, if we knew we had somewhere we can go when these other storms come into our lives, these metaphorical storms? I call them storms that are associated with the 4 F's in life. 4 F's being, first of all, family. Often we have storms that come into our life that are rooted in issues that are going on with our family. Either something's going on with the family member, something's going on with our relationship with that family member. But we have these storms. That's one of the F's that causes storms in our life, is family. The other is friends. Sometimes our friends are a source of storms that come in our life, and one of those storms for which we don't know if we have a shelter, because we just have to face it and have to go through these storms sometimes. The other F that I have that I'm thinking of is finance. Our finances and our well-being, the way we take care of ourselves, that can also be a storm that comes into our life that we don't know how we're going to get through. And then another storm that comes, and this is the one that gets to most of us, is the storm of function, whether our bodies are going to work the way we want them to work, whether we have an illness we'll need to face, whether we have a challenge, a physical challenge that we have to get through, whether we have a chronic illness that we know we're going to have to deal with for the rest of our life, that some days will be worse than other days. I'm a witness of that because I never know when MS is going to bring a storm into my life, nor do I know how bad that storm is going to get. I wish in my life I had what we get on the television. You know, we get these warnings. We get a warning that comes and says, this is a storm warning. There's a possibility that a storm can come your way. There's a possibility that a tornado can come your way. First you get a watch. A watch is a remote possibility. Wouldn't it be nice in your life if you got a remote possibility, something getting ready to come your way? You can prepare yourself for it. And besides that, if it gets closer to you, you get the warning, it's definitely about to hit. You're definitely going to go through a struggle in a couple of minutes. You're definitely going to go through something that's difficult for you to get through in your life. Wouldn't it be great if we had these warnings so that we can go and get our shelter together? In our house, as I said, I'm grateful that we have a house, but we also have a place to go in the house if the storm gets too rough. We go downstairs to the downstairs bathroom where we're away from the windows and everything. And it would be great if in our life we had that same sort of thing. If we had a shelter that we could always go to. Well, the text that I picked for today basically talks about that. If you look at the whole 27th Psalm, particularly the first four verses, you know, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers come upon me to devour my flesh, they'll stumble and they will fall. Notice the text says when evildoers. It doesn't say if evildoers. That's how our lives are. It's not if a problem's going to come, or if evildoers are going to come, or if sickness is going to come, or if any of these things are going to come. It's when they come into our life. This text says, because I know God is my light and my salvation, I can face these things when they come into my life. I can deal with the evildoers. I can deal with the haters. I can deal with the negativity. I can deal with whatever you bring my way because I have a shelter. I love that that's what the text talks about, that it affirms and helps us to know that these things don't just happen to you, they happen to everybody. But the thing is, what do you do when these things come your way? This writer says, there's only one thing that I've asked of the Lord. And the one thing that I will seek after. And that one thing is to be in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in the Lord's temple. Meaning this person, now historically they say this could be somebody who was running from someone and went to the temple for shelter because, you know, you were safe if you got to the temple. They couldn't come in and get you. Other people say that this was somebody preparing for a war. We don't really know because we weren't there. But the thing that we do know is this is someone talking about, I have a shelter in God. I have a shelter that I can go to. I know I'm always covered because God is with me. So when those storms came into this person's life, they knew where to go. One thing they knew, and that was to live in the house of the Lord all the days of his or her life. We don't know if it was him and we don't know if it was her. All we know is this is somebody who has some trouble in their life. And the same thing can be true for us. Storms are going to come into your life. Problems are going to come your way. That's something we can be sure of. But the question is, what do we do when those things happen? We pray. You know, we come to this community and we pray. But a lot of times we pray and then we still worry. We pray and we go away and we just sweat over things. But the answer is not to sweat over these things. The answer is to know that we can trust God no matter what's going on. We have this portable shelter that can go with us anywhere. You know, while I was preparing the sermon, I looked online for portable shelters. And people have shelters that they build and put in their backyard. And people have boats that they put in their house. But there's also these tents that people carry with them. And these tents will protect you from cold, from wind, and from heat. And we have the same thing, my friends. No matter what you're going through, we have access to a God who will protect us from whatever we're going through. You know, there's a story about a town that was undergoing a drought. They had been having a drought for months. And they were a town that depended on rain for agriculture. And so after these months of drought, they decided they were going to have a prayer meeting. And so they said, let's all meet at the church at the top of the hill, and we're going to get together and we're going to pray. And so all the people from the town came together in this church, and they walked up this hill to this church. But when they got there, they realized there was one person missing. And this was somebody that was always like a prayer warrior for that church. Maybe he was a deacon or something like that, but he wasn't there. But after a while, somebody saw somebody coming up the hill, and it was this man. And the people started saying, what is wrong with him? It's hot. It hasn't rained in forever. And here he comes with a coat and a hat, and he's coming up the hill. And he gets to the church, and the people are like, what's wrong with you? Why do you have on this raincoat, this hat, all this, and it hasn't rained here in months? And he said, well, why are you praying if you don't believe God's going to send the rain? He was prepared for the rain because he trusted in his God. He trusted that God was going to be there. So the thing is, when we pray, why do we worry? When we pray, why do we continue to doubt that God's going to show up? God is already there, my friends. It's us who need to change our consciousness and to know the presence of God is around us and in us and living through us and as us wherever we go. We are never without our shelter. Our shelter is already inside. Our shelter is already all around us. So whether you're facing surgery or you're facing job challenges or you're facing relationship trouble, no matter what you're facing, you already are in and are surrounded by and embodied by your shelter. Trust the God that's in you. Trust the God that's around you. Trust the God that's there, no matter what. Trust the God that is the one thing and the only thing that you really need. You, my friends, always have a hiding place. Thank you for listening.